They called it the war to end all wars. But World War I didn't live up to that promise. It was the first time in history that nations from across the globe clashed in a single massive conflict. It all began with an assassination, then spiraled into a mess of bad decisions, secret deals, and power-hungry leaders. Can we pin the blame on one country or leader? Not really, but could it have been prevented? Absolutely. Today on Weird Hunter, we're digging deep into the real causes of World War I, how it could have been avoided, and what it teaches us about power, pride, and politics. World War I raged from 1914 to 1918, involving countries from Europe, the Middle East, Russia, the US, and even Japan. The two major alliances were Central Powers: Germany, Austria-Hungary, Italy, Ottoman Empire, and Bulgaria. Allied Powers: France, Britain, Russia, Portugal, Japan, and later the US. So, how did so many nations get dragged into one of the deadliest wars in history? The first domino fell in the Balkans. Serbia wanted more territory and aimed to unify South Slavic people under one banner, especially those under Austro-Hungarian rule. On June 28, 1914, Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary and his wife Sophie were assassinated in Sarajevo by Gavrilo Princip, a Serbian nationalist linked to a group called the Black Hand. This assassination sparked the war, but it wasn't the only cause. Behind the scenes, powerful figures were already pushing for conflict. Enter Kaiser Wilhelm II, leader of Germany. He wanted Germany to dominate Europe economically and militarily. To do that, he needed to keep Britain and Russia in check and saw war as the tool to do it. Wilhelm gave Austria-Hungary a blank check promising full support, including funding. This empowered Austria-Hungary to issue an ultimatum to Serbia, so harsh it was designed to be rejected. The result? War was inevitable. Austria-Hungary and Germany definitely pushed toward war, but could other nations have stopped it? Let's look at the Triple Entente: France, Russia, and Great Britain. At first glance, Russia seemed to just be defending its ally Serbia, but in truth, they acted fast, not to prevent war, but to prepare for it. Russia mobilized its troops before Germany did, aiming to expand its influence and territory. France didn't make obvious moves, but they played behind-the-scenes politics. They offered Russia their own blank check, encouraging a war that might weaken Germany. France hoped to distract Germany with Russia in the east, then strike from the west. Great Britain had the world's strongest navy and a vast empire, but Germany was rising fast, and that made Britain nervous. History is written by the victors. That's why textbooks often blame Germany and Austria-Hungary. But as we've seen, the Allies had their own motivations and hidden agendas. Still, we can't ignore what the Central Powers did. Austria-Hungary wanted more land, especially Serbian territory. The assassination gave them the excuse they needed. On July 23, 1914, they sent Serbia an ultimatum with outrageous demands and only 48 hours to respond. They knew Serbia would say no, and they were ready to declare war the moment they did. This wasn't about justice, it was about conquest. And then there's Germany. Many historians consider Germany the most responsible, not for starting the conflict directly, but for making it possible. By backing Austria-Hungary, Germany ensured the war would happen. They knew it would pull in Russia, then France. They couldn't declare war first, so they triggered a chain reaction that let them look like defenders rather than aggressors. Why? Because Germany was at its peak. To stay on top, Kaiser Wilhelm believed war was necessary. He was a militant autocrat who thought diplomacy was for the weak. World War I wasn't caused by a single man or a single bullet. It was the result of pride, power plays, bad alliances, and leaders too arrogant to seek peace. Yes, it could have been avoided, but those in charge either wanted war or were too afraid to stop it. A lesson we can't afford to forget, because history almost repeated itself just 21 years later. Like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more historical deep dives, only on Weird Hunt.